how to use the tools of Adobe Illustrator to maintain some level of consistency across figures, to keep people from getting distracted and allowing them to focus on the content of the figures themselves. So if you look at these two figures that I'm showing here, you'll find a lot of things that are not consistent. For instance, the two bars on the left that have a different line thickness. The text for control and treatment are different sizes. The lines on the tick marks are different thickness than the lines of the graph. There's a whole lot of things here that are not consistent. And these things may seem a little nitpicky, but the vast majority of people will get distracted by these things. And you want to have a level of professionalism in the final product of the figure that you're creating. So the first thing we're going to do is to make these two bar graphs the same appearance. Now, I'm going to use a tool that you will, once you know about, you will use all the time. I use it just about every time I'm in Adobe Illustrator, and that's the Eyedropper tool. So I want to make this rectangle the same appearance as this left rectangle. So I'm just going to click on that object on the left, the one on the right. I'm going to click on the right rectangle, the one that I want to change, and then I'm going to click on the Eyedropper tool. And then after that, I'm going to click on the control bar, or the bar that's shown right here. And notice that when I did that, I'm going to undo what I just did. So notice that's a thin line width. But whenever I click on the control, I make it a thick line. So what this does is it copies all the appearance values, or a large portion of the appearance values, and it copies it over to the other object. So for instance, if instead I had this as a, green, okay. Now I'm going to click back on this object on the left. I'm going to click on the Eyedropper tool, or I can click the I button. So if I just click the I on the keyboard, I show the Eyedropper tool, and notice that the eyedropper is selected. And then I'm going to click with my left mouse button, and notice that the right bar becomes green. So that's one way. Using the Eyedropper tool is one way of keeping things very consistent. The other tool is to select the same appearance. You might find that you've drawn multiple objects in a row, and those multiple objects would likely have the same appearance. So you can click on one of these objects. So for instance, let's say this tick mark here, and I'm going to go up to the top and click select, then go down to same, then click appearance. Now notice that these lines here vertically were all drawn with the same appearance. So they all have the same line thickness, they have the same fill. Most of the things about them are the same. So now once I've selected those, I can then change the value of the stroke weight to 1. And so now it's the same line width as the axes. And this works for many appearance values. For instance, I can click on this 4 and go up to select same appearance. And all the text that has the same appearance value will show up. For instance, if it has the same fill or stroke width, it'll be selected. And notice how all the text objects are selected, because those have the same appearance, the same color, same line width as the 4 that I clicked on. Okay. The other thing that you can do is you can select all text objects. So for instance, if I wanted all of these text objects to have the same font size, what I can do is I can go up to Select, Object, and then down to All Text Objects. So now that's going to select all the text objects, and I can go up to the top, and you might notice that you see the font style, which is Arial, whether it's bold or regular, and then you don't see anything for font size. It's an empty box. What that means is that the font size is different for one or more of the objects that I just selected. So every appearance that is slightly different for the objects that I selected will not show up here. But you can still change it, and when you do, it'll change everything to that specific size. So notice how as I'm panning through these objects or these different sizes, that the text in the back of all the text objects are changing their font size. So if I just click 9, that makes all of the text consistent. I can also do the same with formatting and anything like that, and it's going to apply it to all those objects that I selected. For instance, let's just take these objects here on the left. Notice that the 4 isn't quite aligned. So I can select all those objects, all those text, I can select all those text items, and I can align them to the right. And that's going to move all those objects the same. So you can select multiple objects and you can align them. You can change their font sizes. Even if they don't appear to be available, they actually are available to modify. And okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the same shape. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to click on this rectangle object, and I'm going to go Select Same Shape. So now all the rectangles will be selected. So now if I wanted to change them all to a fill with, let's say I wanted black and white, I can change it to gray or any color that I want. Okay, we're going to undo that because I like the different colors. Okay, and the next thing that we can, so again, we're just building different tools to select a group of objects so that you can modify all of those objects to a uniform line width or text size. Okay, the next thing we can do is we can use the Save Selection tool. So, for example, you might have a diagram here on the right, and you might want to group, or instead of group, you might want to, you might find that you will select a certain group of a certain set of objects very frequently. For instance, all the inhibitory connections. So I'm just I'm clicking on this object and holding the Shift key, clicking on the next object and holding the Shift key, and clicking on that object. So now I've selected all the inhibitory connections. And if I go up to the stroke weight or line width, you notice that there's nothing there. That indicates that there's different values for the different stroke widths. So I'm going to click down here and click on 1. Okay, so I'm going to click that down arrow and then click on 1 note. So now it's the same line width. Now, I might want to change this in the future, but I don't want to group all these objects together using the grouping tool. But I might want to select them again. Instead of having to go back through and select each and every object all over again, I can go up to Select and then click on Save Selection, and I can type in inhibitory. Say okay. Now if I go up to, now if I click away, and then I click on select, I can go down to inhibitory, and now all of the inhibitory connections are now selected. And so now I can change to, say, font size 2 or 0.75. So this is a very useful tool if you find that you might be modifying these certain things very frequently.